Hello, parents. Welcome to our training on why teens lie. So, even though we are going to be talking mainly about tweens and teens today, I also encourage you, if you have younger kids who may be, starting to get into telling the half truths or hiding things from you, I encourage you to watch the training today because you may pick up some tips on why they are lying in the first place and also what we can do, what kind of foundation can we start to build to prevent this kind of behavior from starting if they haven't already or from getting any worse. So let's talk first about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, the reason I show this model a lot in my trainings is because once we can understand that all behavior comes from unmet needs and we understand our needs in what order they are met in and what where they come in as far as our body telling us what we need, then we can figure out what our child or teen needs to change their behavior. So in this case, we're talking about the behavior being lying today. So let's start out with level one. These are our very basic physiological needs. These are going to be food, water, shelter, clothing, basic body functions like digestion, immune system, elimination, anything like that. So when we have those needs met, which are basically our needs for are we able to stay alive, right? If we don't have those needs, we're dead. If we don't have those needs met, we're dead. So do we have the basics to survive, right? And after that, we are going to move on to our level two needs, which are our safety needs. Now, our safety needs are physical safety, but also emotional and mental or psychological safety. This can be having a stable household, having a two-parent household. If you have a one-parent household, this parent is present, right? Maybe they're even if they're busy, they're still there for us. There's no neglect going on. There's no abuse going on. Um, our children also need to have the resources to get their needs met anyway. So if they are unable to advocate for themselves, for example, then they don't have the resources or skills in order to get their safety needs met. They also need to be able to feel comfortable asking for their needs, basic needs like food and sleep and clothing and all of these things, right? So a lot of kids live in safe environments. We're talking about, most of the families that I work with, they have their physical safety needs met. However, emotionally or psychologically, some of the children I work with still struggle with getting those needs met on an emotional and uh, mental level. So the question here we want to ask is, am I safe? Or when we're asking about our children, why are they lying to me? We need to ask ourselves the question, do they feel safe, right? Not just focusing on the physical side of things, like do they live in a safe house? Do they're not in any kind of dangerous situation? They're not walking downtown to get to their school or anything like that, right? We drive them to and from school. They are with safe adults at school. If all of those needs are met, then we want to ask, do they feel emotionally safe as well, right? Do they feel safe? Not just are they safe, but do they feel safe? Because the two can be very different. You, as parents, we may think that our children are feeling safe, but when we actually look at um, the different things that constitute safety, which is, the resources to get their needs met, a stable household, a peaceful household, a household where they are able to express themselves to get their needs met, also symbolizes whether or not they feel safe, right? After that, we're going to look at level three. This is our love and connection needs, right? These are our family, whether or not we have a safe family or a loving family. This can also be friendships. It can also be at school, relationships with teachers and classmates, feeling a sense of belonging. So the question we want to ask here is, where do I fit in and am I lovable? Do I feel accepted? Do people love me for me, not just for the things I do? That's a level 4 need, which I'll talk about in a bit, right? So, do people love me for me? Where do I fit in? This is where, when we're talking about lying here, right? When kids lie to us or when anybody lies to somebody else, what we're really doing here is we're breaking the connection between us because we're breaking the trust. So I always tell parents that when we are struggling with any kind of behavior, we want to look at not the behavior on that level. So, for example, if lying comes under love and connection, right? Feeling a sense of belonging, knowing if we can trust your circle, that instead of going, why are they lying to me? I don't understand. We want to take a look at the level beneath that behavior, right? So that would be level 2 needs, right? When a child or anybody is struggling with a certain level of needs, take a look at the level of needs beneath it and ask, are they getting those needs met? So when our kids are lying to us, we want to go to the level 2 needs, which is safety. Does my child feel safe? And until they can begin to feel safe, they are going to struggle with making decisions that will build love and connection and trust with us, right? And because we're only talking about lying today, we're not going to go too much into like level 4 needs or level 5 needs, which I can do a separate training on. But those would be respect, competence. Competence is another word for mastery, whether or not they're good at things, right? Am I valuable? Am I worthy of respect? So when we see our children struggling at school, being good at things, finding their potential. If your kids are slightly older and they, struggle to kind of deploy and leave the house and get a job or learn to drive or any of those things, those are all higher order needs, right? Am I good at things? What's my purpose in life? What's my potential? Am I living up to my potential? If they're struggling with belonging needs, like not feeling like they feel a part of a family or a part of a group, or they're struggling with their safety needs, not feeling like they're getting their safety needs met emotionally or physically, of course they're going to struggle with their level 4 or level 5 needs. So, this is a really great model to understand behavior, right? Because under all behavior is an unmet need. When we can start to meet the needs, the behavior goes away. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about why kids may lie and what it looks like at different ages as well. So, for young children, they are still very much testing out rules and social norms. We're talking about like kind of preschool age kids, 5 and under, right? They're still very much, testing things out, learning how the world works. They also probably have very active imagination, so they may not be 100% clear on what's reality and what is fiction. That is why you have young kids telling you really fantastic stories and tales which don't really make any sense. And we know that because, we're older. Older brothers and sisters may know that as well. But when you have a 4 or 5 year old telling a story about pink dragons and monsters under the bed, right? They still struggle a lot with what's their imagination and what's imaginary and what's actually true and a fact. So, another reason why they also might tell a lie is they're exploring different possibilities. This is when they realize that, hey, I can embellish a story, I can exaggerate. I don't have to say things just the way they happen. I can talk about a purple dragon, right? And you know, maybe mom or dad knows that's not true, but for me, it may be true, right? Kids have very active imaginations. So they may want to share that with us just to kind of see what happens, right? They're very explorative and experiential at this age where they want to try things out. And so once they realize that they don't need to tell the truth 100% of the time, they can start to push boundaries. Like, I wonder what will happen if I tell mom this story about the purple dragon friend that I have that, comes to school with me every day, right? And they're probably going to want to see how you react to that. And so how we react as parents also informs them on whether or not they keep doing it. So it's very important that we make differentiate when our kids are telling us, kind of like a creative story and it's not harming anybody as opposed to, saying they didn't do something or not fessing up to something that they did do, and it's not taking responsibility and it is causing some kind of negative consequence, right? So we want to differentiate and help children understand that sometimes it's okay to make believe and tell stories and things like that. However, that's only when it's not hurting anybody. If we're lying and we're saying we didn't take the cookie when we did, or we push our friend and we say we didn't, then we need to, quash that behavior, because we don't want them to think that it's okay, that, telling an imaginary story and outright lying are the same thing. So this is where kids start to learn values and morals and what's right and what's wrong, right? However, once kids are older, they definitely have learned the difference between a lie and a fact, right? And so the difference, the reason that they lie may be a very different reason to why a younger child might lie, right? They know the difference between, there's no purple imaginary dragons and things like that. And the reason they lie is usually coming from a place of wanting to be accepted and belong. And this could look like, a whole host of different kind of behavior, right? There's many different reasons, but usually if we're looking at the need underneath it, it's they need acceptance and belonging, and they're lying to keep that, right? To keep that sense of community or sense of belonging with somebody else who they may be lying to. So that could be us as parents, that could be their friends, that could be a teacher, right? They want to be able to fit in. However, if they do have experiences in the past of being harshly punished when they made a mistake, right? If they get grounded, or if they get yelled at, or if they have their stuff taken away, or if they, for whatever punishment that we as parents might come up with in order to get them to follow rules, what is going to happen there? A child or a teen's survival brain is going to kick in, because if you think back to Maslow's hierarchy again, safety is our level 2 need, just above our physiological basic survival need. So our survival brain is still very much running that show. And when we have the choice between breaking connection and trust with somebody, which is what lying causes, or choosing safety. If I lie, it means I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to get yelled at, even though it may mean sacrificing trust and sacrificing the connection with the person I'm lying to. They will usually always choose safety. This is a physiological, unconscious human need to protect ourselves from any kind of adverse consequence or situation, right? And so this is why teenagers, who are very, very emotional creatures, right? They are not really logical. They are very much, the active part of their brain is the amygdala, the kind of limbic system. That's the part that's being rewired, that's responsible for emotions. And also the very, very primitive part of their brain, the survival, fight, or flight part of their brain, also very, very active, which is why you see them, go from 0 to 60 so fast in their emotions, because this part of their brain is very active at this age. So it means that their survival instincts are going to kick in before they realize that, oops, when I told that lie, it made mom or dad not trust me anymore. And so it's a difficult habit to break. And how can we break this? So Dr. Shafali Sabari, she is, oh, she wrote quite a few books. She does lots of different trainings, and she said this quote, that there is only one reason a child lies to its parents: the condition for it to feel safe have not been created. Or, and again, maybe they have been created, but maybe things have changed, right? And we talk about trust in our following slide, that they need to trust us, that we are going to create an environment of safety for them. And if they don't trust us to do that, they are not going to want to be honest with us or tell us anything that will cause them to feel unsafe, either physically or emotionally, right? So if we're trying to create safety, what do we want to ask ourselves as parents? Now, this is, a kind of hard work, because we have to be really honest with ourselves. And some parents maybe aren't ready to do this yet. And so if that's the case, then I understand that we probably have a need for safety or some other need that needs to be met. So we may not be able to ask ourselves these questions and answer honestly. However, if you are really concerned and really committed to changing this pattern of behavior in your home, if you have a tween or teen who constantly lies to you, then I do encourage you to ask yourself this question, these series of questions, and answer as honestly as you can. So, number one, you're going to ask yourself, how do I react when my child or teen does something wrong? Right? Not how do I react 2 or 3 days later. It's when my child or teen comes to me and they fess up, or I find out something and I confront them. How do I react? What's my initial reaction? Do I raise my voice? Right? It doesn't have to be full on yelling, but do I start to raise my voice? Do I full on yell or shout? Do I criticize them, make them feel like they're not good enough or something's wrong with them? Use the words name call or anything like that, criticize and shame them? Do I punish them, take things away from them, ground them? You can't see your friends. Or do I send them away from me? Go to your room. I don't want to talk to you right now. Right? Now, all of those are very valid reactions because often when we as parents are dealing with this kind of behavior from our children, it's usually something has been broken. It's a rule has been broken. They have maybe broken some kind of or done some kind of behavior that goes against our family values, right? Maybe something physically has been broken or damaged. And so it's natural for us as parents to react in an angry or sad or frustrated way because we're human too. However, we are the leaders of our home. We are the more mature person in this relationship, right? Our children or our teenagers, their brains are still underdeveloped. We as parents are responsible for being the mature person in this relationship. And so, even though our emotions or whatever we're feeling is very valid, we want to try to limit the behavior, right? Just like we do with our children. The feelings are valid. It's okay, I feel mad. I'm so frustrated with my kid right now. I've told them so many times to not do this, and I found out they did it again. I'm so frustrated. So acknowledge the feeling that you're feeling. That you may feel disrespected. You may feel they've gone against your family values. They may have damaged something and it's put stress on you because you need to replace it, right? It's going to be natural to feel any which way. However, we want to understand that when we express that emotion through behavior, yelling, criticizing, punishing, sending them away, we are creating an environment where our child does not feel safe with us, right? How does my reaction allow or not allow my child or teen to feel safe in telling me about the mistake they made? If the purpose here is to have our child to come to us to feel safe enough to tell us these things, then we need to make sure that we are creating a system of safety so that they don't tell us and then we blow up at them and they're going, see, this is why I didn't want to tell you in the first place, right? You may have kids who've told you that. See, this is why I didn't want to tell you to begin with because I knew you're going to freak out. So our children desperately want to connect with us. Remember, that's a human need there. However, their need for safety is more important than their need for us to connect with us. So if you can think of that connection is like air to a child, that if they choose to disconnect with us and be dishonest with us, it's because they have to choose safety over connection. And that's something that no child should have to go through, right? And so we want to really make sure that it's okay. I'm going to feel mad, but I can also control my emotions just enough to be able to let my child feel safe, right? And so this is also doesn't mean that we let our child, our children or teens do whatever they want just so they feel safe. No, we want to remember that safety does not mean letting them off scot-free or having no consequences. All behavior has consequences. However, it also means that we just calm our own natural reactions just enough for us to be able to get curious about our kids and why they're doing the things they've done, why they've made that decision that they made, right? And because all behavior has consequences, we also need to stay calm enough to help our child understand that whatever behavior they chose, it has a consequence. And part of that consequence is also repairing the mistake they made, right? So this is the part that's within our control as a parent, right? Half of it is our child's responsibility, and we're going to talk about that in our next slide. But this is the part that we can control ourselves. We can't expect our kids to be honest with us if we aren't ready to create the conditions for them to feel safe when they are honest with us, right? So it's tough work, right? This is why I do work with parents, because this is not natural. This is takes a lot of practice. It takes controlling your own emotions. It takes, understanding what's going on within us and why we may be so angry, because we may feel disrespected. We may feel unsafe ourselves. And so by meeting our own needs first, we also want to make sure that we aren't just, totally dismissing what we're feeling. What we're feeling is valid too. But as a parent here, we need to make sure that our child also feels safe. So now that we talked about the parent part and our parents' responsibility to create safety, we also doesn't mean we let our kids get off, scot free and consequences and okay, it's all on me, it's all my responsibility to make sure that you feel safe, right? Because if that was the case, then our children would never learn consequences and they could do whatever they want. So number one, we want to explain the consequences of lying. As our kids get older, especially when they're in their tweens and teens, we need to be able to trust them to do the activities that they want to do, right? Go on sleepovers, learn to drive a car, have friends over, go out with friends, stay out late, go, once they get to be young adults, they may be staying out past, when it gets dark, or they may even have to go to work, and who knows, right? Who knows what their life is going to look like as they get older. However, while they still live under our own roof, it's really important that we are able to trust them. And so trust is built just like a puzzle. Lots of different pieces. It's not just one time and you do one thing and all of a sudden I trust you 100%. Trust is built over time. It's piece by piece, circumstance by circumstance, right? Lying breaks trust. When someone is not honest with us, it breaks the trust between us because we don't know if what they're saying is true and what they're saying is not. Trust takes a long time to build, and as the same goes true for marriage, right? It takes little pieces and being able to understand that when somebody when we do something, that somebody is going to react a certain way to us, whether or not we can trust them, right? If they react negatively, okay, I can't trust them. If they react positively, okay, I can trust them. I can trust them with a little bit more. And so it's built like a puzzle, right? It's built over time. So the interesting thing about trust is that it takes a long time to build, yet it can be destroyed in an instant. And I'm sure you probably something has come to your mind where you have a memory of maybe a relationship that you had with somebody and you built up trust over a long period of time, and then something happened that broke the trust in an instant. And whether or not you chose to repair that trust, I can bet you that it took a lot longer to rebuild it than it did to break it. And so this is something that our kids need to understand as well, right? Trust takes a long time to build and it can be destroyed in an instant. And so this is where we also start to build on that. If it takes so long to build up, this is why we want to, if at all possible, um, we want to choose other, um, we want to try to choose other choices other than lying, because lying is what breaks trust. And because it takes so long to build up, is it really worth it to tell that one lie? Or is it better to be honest, even though there may be consequences of that as well? Now, because all of these activities, like our children going out and having sleepovers at other homes, or having their friends over, or as they get older learning to drive a car and going out and being on the road, and being having other people and their own lives in their hands. That takes trust, a lot of trust, right? So when there is a lack of trust in a relationship, for example, my child or teen lies to me, therefore the trust is broken. So what does it mean about all these activities that take trust? It means that those activities also go away. That is the consequence of breaking trust with somebody. They are no longer able to trust you with doing these activities because they require trust, right? Now, when we take away, a lot of people just go, oh, you're grounded. You're not allowed to go out with your friends. You're not allowed to have any friends over. And so when you put it in that way, it seems very punitive. There isn't, your kids don't really make the connection between why can't I have my friends over, or why can't I go out to my friend's house because I lied. They're not seeing the connection. When we can bring it back to all of these activities require that I trust you. And so when there's a lack of trust, it means I can't allow these activities anymore, right? It's my responsibility as a parent to keep you safe. That is my only job as a parent, especially as you get older, right? You know how to do other things. You know how to take care of yourself and feed yourself and bathe yourself and all those things. But as far as keeping you safe, that is my responsibility. As long as you live under my roof, that is my main responsibility. So I can only keep you safe if you're honest with me. When trust is broken, these activities that require trust are no longer on the table because it's no longer safe for me to allow them, right? And so we aren't taking away these activities as a punitive measure. We're taking it away because there's a lack of trust there. And so once they can understand that, it the next step is very, very clear. Okay, trust is broken. If trust is like a puzzle and the puzzle just went flying off the table, all the pieces are on the ground, what is the next step? What can you do to help build back the trust with me? If I need to be able to trust you in order to do these activities, then it means you need to build back the trust with me if you want to have these activities again, right? Remember, this takes time and a lot of evidence. It's not just, oh yeah, you can trust me, mom. I need to be able to believe that I can trust you. So this is where you would come up with a list of ways that they can show their trustworthiness. And this usually has to do with keeping their word, right? This is integrity. And this is something that a lot of teens struggle with, right? Because nowadays there's not as many consequences of not keeping your word, right? This is why you have ghosting and flaky behavior and people saying they're going to do one thing and they don't. So there's a lot less integrity in the world today, which is why it is so important that we instill these values in our kids. Trust is at the basis of everything. Every single relationship is based on trust. And so without it, it's very difficult to live life as an adult. And so by showing their trustworthiness, this can be something like, we have chores that you're supposed to do in the house, and each time I have to nag you and remind you, it basically makes me feel like I can't trust you. I can't trust you to take responsibility to do it by yourself, right? You have homework and school assignments to do. And when I have to check in with you, hey, did you do that assignment? Hey, did you turn in your homework? Hey, did you bring home what you needed to do to your computer or whatever to do the work you need to do? Every time I have to ask you, it makes me feel like I can't trust you to do it by yourself. Do you understand? This is where you start to tie in what they have to do, probably what we nag them to do hundreds of times, with trust. And so if they want to build back trust with us, they're going to start doing their chores without me having to nag you. You're going to start doing homework assignments without me having to get on your. Now, I may give you a couple of reminders, but I'm not going to constantly nag you and nag you and nag you, right? I'm going to give you one or two reminders, and if you don't do it, then it shows that I can't trust you. And if the purpose is to build back trust here, then you're going to need to show me that you are trustworthy. If you have a teen who is outside the home and, for example, they're in extracurricular activities or they're at friends' houses, maybe you have curfew for them, or maybe you have a time where they're supposed to check in with you. Calling home and checking in when we agree as parent and child, this can show whether or not I can trust you or not. If I say, please check in by 5 o'clock and it's 5:30 and you still haven't called and I have no idea where you are, this is damaging my trust in you, right? Also, things like taking responsibility to watch a sibling or maybe clean up after themselves. All of that is showing trustworthiness. So whatever, you agree on as parent and child or parent and teen, we want to give them opportunities to keep their word and acknowledge that when they do, without us having to nag, without us having to check in with them, then wow, you did all your homework without me having to nag you. That is really helping me learn to trust you. That is helping me build trust with you because I realize I don't have to treat you like a younger child. I realize you're showing your maturity, you're showing your trustworthiness, right? Helping them build trust in you when they follow through with what they're supposed to do. Now, I have some parents who are like, oh, finally, I have like 2 or 3 months where my child is doing all their chores without me having to nag them, and they're taking care of their young brother or sister. They're cleaning up after themselves. Oh my goodness, this is heaven. This is like ideal. Why would I want that to stop? Now, remember, trust goes both ways, right? We want to play fair here. We don't want to pretend to not trust them if they have really been doing a good job, trying their best to build trust back with you and being trustworthy and doing what they need to do. Then we want to acknowledge that. We don't want to pretend that, oh, no, I still don't trust you enough, right? Just so you can get another month out of them. It goes both ways. Trust goes both ways. And understand that if we are allowed to call them out for being untrustworthy and not keeping their word, then as parents, I'm going to say this because I'm really big on congruency and parents need to lead the way. That if we say we're going to do something as parents, then it's really important that we follow through, right? Because otherwise, how can our child trust us? If we say, hey, I'm going to pick you up at a certain time and we forget, either we apologize and say, I'm so, so sorry. I can really understand that probably damaged your trust in me. So taking responsibility for that as well. When we make mistakes, because we will, we're busy, right? Sometimes we will promise to do things with our kids and something may come up. So acknowledging that, not saying, well, you know what, I never said I was going to do that anyway. Just saying, hey, I know I promised I said I was going to do this with you and something came up and I can really understand how you probably feel like you can't really trust me because I went back on my word. And so I'm going to try to build back trust with you. Understanding trust goes both ways and being able to model it for our kids, especially when they call us out and say, hey mom, you said you're going to do that thing or you weren't going to do that thing and then you did it, right? We need to put our hand up and fess up to that. Be like, oh, I'm sorry. I know we're talking about building trust here. It means I also need to be making sure that I am trustworthy and I keep my word as well. So I hope that it was kind of an interesting training, and I hope you were able to pick up some really valuable tools and tricks and understand a bit more about why kids and teens lie to us in the first place, what we can do to build a foundation and an environment of safety for them so they can feel they're able to come to us and tell us about things they've done wrong, right? And when they aren't able to do that, to really help them understand that when you lie to me, it's really hard for me to trust you. And when there's no trust in a relationship, it's difficult for me to allow you to do the things that you want to do, like go out with friends and stay up late and, whatever privileges you allow your child that require trust. So, thank you so much for watching our training today, and I hope you found very valuable tools and techniques that you can take away and use right away with your kids and teens. I will speak to you soon. Bye for now.